famed author Clive Cussler.
The hero, Dirk Pitt.
Mr. Pitt, how nice to see you. The barrel was pointed, rock steady, at Pitt's head. Then Pitt thrust his weight upward and charged, hitting her harder than he had ever hit anyone in his life.
Vixen-03. Episode 6. Dropkick Maxines.
Oh, and I have to amend something I said last week.
Uh-oh.
Ving Rhames was not looking confused during Mission Impossible 10 or 11, whatever they're up to, the latest one, bazillion. I determined they took off his glasses.
He's no longer cool enough.
Yeah, because I just saw Mission Impossible 2 last night, and he was gorgeous. Like, just absolutely a specimen of perfect male beauty. Just the cheekbones for days. Oh, he looked gorgeous in Mission Impossible 2.
Mission Impossible 2 was amazing, and I love how everyone thinks of that as like the redheaded stepchild of the Mission Impossible series, because it was just so completely out of nowhere.
It was a very strange movie.
And I don't think North America was ready for it yet.
No, there were so many scenes where, like, I think Sandy Newton was just standing in a wind tunnel because she looked gorgeous. So there's obviously somebody off camera with a fan trying to maneuver her hair in the right windswept fashion, because there's a part where her scarf flies away. It's really silly. It's so much wind time.
It's always windy. It's always sunset. There's always doves. It's John Woo. Everything is heightened. Like, we're past 11.
Oh, doves.
Everything's up to 13. Yeah, there's doves at least once on the base where most of the final showdown happens, and there's doves on the beach fight scene at the end.
You noticed that? Is that a John Woo thing? He does doves and everything?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. That's fun.
Oh, yeah. Going back like
Really
25 years, Hong Kong action theater, blood-soaked cinema, all that. You have to have doves.
And I really think, upon the rewatch, boy, what a moment in time 1999 was, because that's when that movie was shot. You didn't know it if you were in it, but it was a very distinct time. It had a look. It had an extreme sports vibe.
Oh, yeah.
You could tell, like, get the extreme sports in there.
It wasn't sarcastic yet. I feel like the early 2000s was when all of that became like sarcastic and meta and self-referential. At the end of the 90s, it was like absolutely incredibly sincere live-action cartoon silliness.
It went into Fletch territory. Did you ever see the Fletch movies? It's a farcical spy movie with...
I know I saw those when I was younger, yeah. Chevy Chase as the reporter.
They were fighting with motorcycles.
Yep. The good old-fashioned motorcycle fight. But it's also still some of the most amazingly shot motorcycle stunts.
Yes, and I am convinced. I take an edible when I watch these movies. It makes it more fun, and I feel like I relate to it on a deeper level.
Absolutely.
But I think Tom Cruise is deeply funny, and he always has been, and I've gotten him wrong for years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he always has a stunt double, and it might not always be for scenes where there's a stunt. There's a scene, I was slowing it down last night, and there was a guy sitting, it was supposed to be Tom Cruise, and frame by frame, I'm like, put the stand in. His no stunt.
Tom Cruise was busy that day. He always does like some insane stunts by himself, but he can't do everything.
He cannot do everything. They won't let him. Do you really want to be a street pizza if you're Tom Cruise dying during a stunt? That doesn't look great. That's heroic to say you do the stunts. It's not heroic to actually go through the physical toll of them.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I've apologized to Ving Rhames. I heard something word at a diner. I wrote it down. Let me get my... And I know people do overheards on their podcast. That's a thing. But this was profound. I know if your foot is numb all the time, you have to look at it. What I overheard at the diner. If your foot is numb all the time, you have to look at it. Like, I wanted to stop the world and call him an ambulance. It was older people. I guess it was diabetes related.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, that sounds like an older person. That sounds like somebody from the Walk It Off generation.
Is that what we have to look forward to? Like, limbs just go numb? Like, oh, that part of my body's dying.
I'm already in that zone. Like, I can't feel these two fingers very well at all anymore.
What?
Like, they're just gone.
Oh, you bend them funny, too. Did you break them?
Nope. That's outer two fingers are the nerve that runs along your elbow, and I've just leaned that nerve to death.
Oh. Did you ever break your elbow?
No, I've only ever broken one bone, and that was a toe.
Which one?
I'm somehow unbreakable. Whatever the one is right next to your big toe.
For me, that's the longest toe.
Me and somebody at martial arts basically front kicked each other at the same time, and both of us busted our toes. We're just hopping around afterwards going,
Did
ow,
you,
fuck,
did you get
fuck,
tangled?
fuck."
How did you? That's like.
We both just front kicked the other person's foot.
Did he break his toe too?
I don't think he broke his toe, but I broke mine.
I broke my big toe. I pulverized it. It looked like a smattering of ashes in the x-ray.
Ooh.
When we first moved here, the people who lived here before us had worked for some government corruption agency where they were doing the corruption because they had, New York City had dropped off yards and yards of gravel that this guy finagled for free. So the driveway was gravel, the road, everything was gravel, so much gravel. The yard was gravel. We wanted to put in a pool in a driveway and do things. So we're digging it by hand and just moving the gravel, and there's asphalt underneath. So then we have to break up the asphalt. And I dropped asphalt on my foot. I dropped street on my foot, and it pulverized in. I've been cursing the New York City Sanitation Department ever since. We should start a podcast, I think.
Yeah, I believe you're doing the intro because last time I said we were the only podcast that had COVID. But since we still have it, I guess it's no longer accurate.
Over there is my Vector co-host, Topper. This is Nancy, and this is part 4 of Vixen-03 of Cussler Hustlers.
We're not on part 4 yet. We still have a couple of chapters to go.
I'm barreling you into the oncoming 4th part.
Okay.
It's coming. It's inevitable. You can't get away from it.
It's coming.
Don't try and jump ship now.
I'm not jumping ship. I just want to make sure that you don't skip a couple of fun chapters here.
Oh, no, I won't. No,
Okay.
never. So where do you want to start? Chapter 39?
We finished off at the start of 39 last time. Dale Jarvis had just gotten a copy of Operation Wild Rose.
Oh, yes, from Gossard, who we know is a functioning alcoholic that was brought home to us last week. He's a good guy. He gets his work done, but he's a drunk. Every other sentence that was describing him was solid worker. Drunk, solid worker.
70s, 80s.
We all know a guy.
You could still get away with that. I also like the fact that they got a copy of Operation Wild Rose from Emma for 10 grand.
Yes. Emma knows his target audiences. He knows how to price things for his market.
Mm-hmm. I figure he just sells them everything for 10 grand. He has no idea what's valuable and what's not.
Well, I think he knows when he has a sucker on the hook because for Lusana, he was charging $2 million.
Yeah, exactly.
So the message is immaterial. He knows his customer base.
It's not even a sucker on the hook. Like, Operation Wild Rose directly relates to Lusana because they were going to use the AAR as the patsies, as the fall guys.
Only a sucker in the price tag.
Yeah.
As in, if I would be pissed off if I paid $2 million for something and somebody else paid 10 grand for it. I would be apoplectic.
Good point. And also, for no apparent reason, in the middle of chapter 39, Samuel Jackson, who's the photographer, drops off the pictures with Daggett.
Oh, I must have just glossed over it.
He's a tall, angular black man named Samuel Jackson. And I think it's a coincidence because I think that's before he started acting.
Yeah, I think it is. Because this was written in the 70s. Yeah, it was possibly. Yeah, possibly. And Dale Jarvis is trying to buy an aircraft carrier, trying in quotes. He just wants to see if there's an aircraft carrier out in the ether to be had, an inkling of something.
I thought it was a battleship.
Yes, battleship. They're interchangeable in my head. Girl, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
A big ship of the military sort. With the bang bangs on. The big.
It never occurred to me that there weren't battleships anymore.
Yeah, I am kind of sad about that. That's a quaint time.
Because they're not really effective in modern war.
It's a bygone era of why fight at sea? I'll meet you where you are. Oh, and this, yes, I forgot. Fox is on his boat. He's been doing a rehab, kind of a DIY fix-sharper thing. And he's got his gallon of whiskey. He has a gallon of whiskey in a pound of cheddar cheese for lunch.
I did enjoy that. And
Whoosh.
also on his fake battleship, he's like napping and flashing back to just how good his life was in the white parts of South Africa. And I'm still not entirely getting a handle on how much Clive Cussler misses the days when the white people were in charge. It's really wistful. Here's this brave, heroic Navy man who lost all of his family, and he just wants to go back to when white people had farms in South Africa. And it's a really weird vibe.
It's a very strange vibe. We're coming at it from 2023. This was written in the 70s.
Yeah.
In the height of apartheid Africa, South Africa. But I don't think he's writing it sympathetically. I think he's writing it matter-of-factly. He's writing it like he was Fox. Fox would be wound up to be... He is this character. If you're writing a colonizer, a guy who bought a farm in South Africa from Scotland. He's got that mindset. He's writing as if he's in that mindset. He's not condoning it necessarily yet.
He is a lot more in the mind of Fox than he is in most of the other characters in South Africa, except for Majida, I guess. Almost everybody else, he writes them fairly matter-of-factly, like, here's what they did, here's their basic thought, but he'll, like, spend a lot of time in Fox's head just daydreaming. And
it's an interesting angle, because this guy's inherently unsympathetic in this day and age, because it's a very complicated topic. Nobody deserves to have their family slaughtered, but this is a delicate situation of people being where they're not supposed to be, and an underclass, and lots of social factors that make him, in broad strokes, the bad guy. But in his mind, he's still just a man who lost his family, and he's seeking revenge.
Some real over-the-top revenge.
As you would do if you lost your family.
Although, in his defense, as we'll find out later on, he thinks he's only got nerve gas, not end-of-the-world biotoxin.
And nerve gas is still pretty ugly, too.
Oh, God,
if you're willing to unleash nerve gas, I don't think you're going to blink at it's sudden death. Never mind. Now that it has a brand name, we can't use it. It's the Tide Pods of death gas.
But Chapter 40 starts off with the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Funding to Aid African Nations, which somehow sounds like the most boring thing possible, but they make it a bit more interesting. And when it comes time for Lauren to basically break the tie on whether or not to let Lusana speak, Daggett delivers the pictures of her and Clive. Her and Dirk.
He wishes it was Clive.
God, now I'm getting them mixed up.
Yeah, so Dana's sitting in Congress. She's boss-babing it out. She doesn't want to go along with Lusana. His concept is flawed. She has little differences with him, but she gets this envelope, and she's naked pictures of her and Dirk, and she's like, God damn it. She's sunk, and she knows that Daggett has seen these pictures, and the thought fills her with like, oh, he's a leering creep.
Yeah.
So she feels creeped out, disgusted, violated, and she has to change her vote to go along with whatever Daggett wants. She's in his pocket now.
Yep. Lusana makes his speech. Then it skips ahead to back with Jarvis, and a lot of time spent describing his sexy secretary. Although this one, Barbara Gore, is 43 and still hot.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh.
Yes, and didn't they had a romance years past, but they've gotten past it?
Yep. Now they're just best friends.
This guy is clearly married. We met his wife in a previous chapter.
Yep.
Okay. Different time. Maybe his wife was there. Maybe it was a keys in the fishbowl type situation.
Was that aspirational in the 70s? Like, the person that you're having an affair with also has to have skills that you can use in your career?
I think it's just smart.
Kind of multitasking, mixed business and pleasure, that kind of thing?
I knew so many guys in high school that would date women who typed so they could have the reports typed.
Nice.
This isn't a stretch.
But yet, they spend a lot of time talking about where all the old battleships are, and they're all accounted for. So Jarvis is just like, well, I guess Operation Wild Rose can't happen.
Meanwhile, that's when Fox was eating his cheddar and getting soused at 11 a.m. Brunch, really.
Hanging out on his absolutely not a battleship.
Oh, yes. And in chapter 41, I was decoding my handwriting.
Okay. Yep, we're back in Table Lake.
Just a tangent, if I may. My handwriting is terrible because in the 5th grade, Mrs. Rizzo wanted me to be a right-handed person and made me punch a stucco wall with my left hand until it was bloody every day until I would relent and write with my right hand. So, Mrs. Rizzo, wherever you are, I hope you are the only reason I would ever hope that there's a God is if she's burning in hell.
That's fair. Holy shit. Was this a Catholic school or?
Yeah.
Just guessing.
Yeah. No trauma there. None. But my handwriting is terrible, and sometimes I need a minute to just look at it.
I'm like that. My handwriting starts off good for like a few sentences, and then it just devolves back to grade 5. So, and not because of a right-handed, left-handed thing. I'm just in a hurry, and I don't care.
We made such a big deal about handwriting. I am so thrilled with the texting, typing universe. Because that broad back then, she was like, what are you going to do? Just type things? You don't have a typewriter in your pocket.
You don't know the future, lady.
Look back, I saw it. It's coming. We'll have calculators and typewriters all the time.
But yet, chapter 41, we're finally back to having some Vixen-03 in this book titled Vixen-03.
Yes. They raised the wreckage of... That's an R. Wow, I thought that was a P. They raised the wreckage of Vixen-03, and it's missing a body.
Yep. They can't find Crazy Charlie.
And Bass counts the warheads. The old man Bass there.
Yep. Counts the warheads and promptly has a heart attack. Actually, I guess not promptly. It takes a long-ass time for him to have a heart attack. because he's talking about how his heart's pounding and he's rubbing his left arm, and now he's like, his mouth is dry and his head's all sweaty, and he's like, he can hear drums in his ears, and like, it really takes a long time to have this heart attack.
I once saw a man on the subway train, a big burly construction worker type, and he was snoring and he woke up and he looked like he couldn't breathe, and he just pounded his chest like he was restarting his heart. And then the color came back into his face. It was like self-CPR. Magnificent.
Just working the turkey through. There it goes.
Yeah, see,
One cares to behold.
that guy's from the Walk It Off generation.
Yeah, that guy was from the Walk It Off generation. But Clive did a really good deep dive here on how it would feel to have a heart attack. You feel the pressure mounting. You feel the heart beating stronger and stronger. It feels like it hurts, like it's struggling. He wrote it beautifully. He was raising suspense. You disagree?
No, not at all. It seems like he starts having symptoms before he gets on the Vixen-03, and he's walking through the Vixen-03, and they're just like stacking more and more symptoms. And on the one hand, I could tell, okay, he's about to have a heart attack. But I did like the fact that when they were checking to see if any of the canisters were damaged, just down he goes. And I was hoping people would immediately think that the quick death had escaped and they were all infected.
Oh.
But no, Dirk was just like, oh, he's having a heart attack. I'm like, oh, that's no fun. I was hoping everybody would freak out.
Well, they're not a panicking bunch. To be fair, they're just not written that way.
Yep.
They're a violent bunch, mercurial, but they don't panic.
No, but he's like, the canisters. And Pitt's like, they're fine, don't worry. And he's like, no, there's 28 of them. And they're supposed to be 36. So we find out 8 warheads are missing.
And lest we forget, they contain quick death. A micro nanogram of that would wipe out the whole universe.
Basically. And now we get to part 4, No Return Ticket, and chapter 42. And we skip ahead another month.
Yes, and now we're in December of 1988. And right now, we're recording this in December of 2023. The mind boggles.
Has it been 35 years already?
And Sandecker is displaying a great use of time and taxpayer money. He's got a 3D phone with a holographic image that pops up.
That's what my notes say, is they have a holographic video call for some reason. This doesn't come up before or since, and we can't see it. But they're on a 3D Star Wars video phone call.
Yes, it's very Princess Leia, and Sandecker likes to put his hands in the middle, like slicing the 3D object. He's like, oh, there's no matter here. It's just a visual.
Yes, science!
And they talk about how the canisters that they do have are currently safe and sound in a military railway siding, waiting to get dumped off the edge of the continental shelf. They just have to find the other 8 of them.
But before he mentions that, there was an oddly prescient moment where Clive describes Sandecker and Pitt adjusting the picture. He's telling Pitt to step back. You're too close to the camera. I can't see your head.
That's right, yeah.
And there's no reason for this other than it was like a bizarre time travel. Like, it's like grandma when she video calls you. You see her mouth. She's too close to the phone. That was happening in 1988 with this fictional video call.
Video calls are so wacky.
And I love it.
That was great.
Yes, and then they get down to business and talk about adult stuff. They secured the warheads with the poison.
The ones that they have, at least. And Sandecker wants to tell the Pentagon. And Pitt is basically, but I want to do it. After that point, the whole conversation really reminds me of like those 80s cop shows where Sandecker's just like, you're a loose cannon, Pitt. And Pitt's like, I'm going to do this my way.
But you go back and you watch those, and we should have put all the loose cannons away. They were actually a problem.
And Pitt says he'll track him down. He'll find them all his way. And Sandecker gives him 5 days. Sandecker's the chief.
Yeah, Sandecker gave him a bit of a grilling, though, because he's like, I wouldn't have been in this mess if you didn't just commandeer equipment and resources from Numa to go battle this Vixen-03 thing. He's like, I'm on the hook because you put me on the hook. So he makes Pitt feel like a weasel for a little bit.
Which is good. A boss should do that. Or at least his boss should do that.
Pitt should be humbled every now and then. Just a tad bit. I mean,
I think Sandecker is like the only person who ever humbles him throughout all these books. Because he's like the one person Pitt respects more than himself.
Did we ever meet Pitt's dad?
Yeah, I think so. Senator George Pitt. I think he shows up later on.
Oh.
He's mentioned a lot.
He is mentioned a lot. I wonder what kind of daddy issues we'll uncover there. Between, not like Clive and Dirk have any issues, but it'll feel like that all over again.
Yeah. And if my notes are any indication, we now entered the biggest chapter Clive Cussler has ever written, because this is one entire page in my Google Doc is just chapter 43.
Pitt is awful calm when he goes to see the Raffertys.
Yep. Remember the Raffertys from chapter 2?
Yes, the old couple that served him meat that he found out was buffalo testicles.
More testicles mean more iron.
But I sympathized with Dirk more than ever on that one because he fell into the polite old people trap.
Yep. You can't say no.
And we've all been in that prison. If you're a human with a beating heart, you've been in that prison. I miss you, Bamba. I ate that muffin at gunpoint. Then when Pink goes back to the Raffertys, and Mrs. Rafferty is hanging out clothes on the clothesline to dry. Kids used to do that before there were dryers. Now it's much better. This was an unforgiving task. It's December in Colorado, and she's hanging wet clothes out to dry.
Oh, yeah. That didn't even occur to me. You're right.
I'd be murderous, too. But that's a foreshadowing.
Yep. Maxine's doing laundry. Lee's fixing a sink. He's got a ceramic jug full of homemade wine. They're just so gosh darn folksy.
They're bumpkiny. They're just precious.
And then Pitt says, "So why'd you kill Charlie Smith?" And now we're off to the races.
Well, I guess they're old. You have a certain amount of time. You got to get to the point.
Yeah.
But that wasn't his reasoning. He was trying to throw him off kilter, and he succeeds.
Yeah. He didn't really, because...
But he remains... Mr. Rafferty remains very calm.
Yeah, I was going to say, while he's doing this whole parlor scene, Rafferty's, like, still fixing the sink. It's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, I killed Charlie. Yeah, we found the old airplane. We were going to sell off bits and pieces of it like our retirement fund. But Charlie wanted to tell the government, so I had to kill him. Fixing the sink and just... He
describes how Charlie had to go, and Mr. Rafferty is as calm as a salted cucumber, because he's got an ace up his sleeve. Mrs. Rafferty is a part-time Annie Oakley, and she's behind Pitt.
She's behind me, isn't she?
I did like that, because Lee eventually says, "You're wrong about one thing. I didn't kill him. I'm a gentle soul. My wife killed him." She just has, like, a gun aimed at him.
It is great. If I'm an old woman hanging wet clothes in December in Colorado, I am down for anything that gets me out of that. If I have to kill a stranger, fine. Anything to get out of chores.
And Pitt says that he didn't come here alone. There's a sheriff listening to every word, which right off the bat, he says is a lie. But then it skips to Al and Steiger are in the woods. So it was kind of a lie, but also kind of not.
He brought backup, but
He's not a complete moron.
Looney Tunes backup.
He did. And this fight bounces back and forth.
Steiger is like a bull in a china shop. He bumbles and fumbles and kind of just smashes his way to being a hero.
He FBI just blasts himself through the kitchen window. Maxine gets, like, kicked out the front door, and she immediately stands up, turns around, and just shoots Giordino in the leg.
Yes.
Al had done nothing yet.
Then Dirk gets into a tussle with Maxine, and Dirk is 30-something, 32, let's say. And then he, in his prime, the physical grandeur of Dirk Pitt, just roundhouse kicks this lady to the moon, which is a great image.
But that was after they shot each other while they were both moving, and Maxine blew a piece of his ear off, and he ended up shooting her in the rifle, so not actually hurting her at all.
No, it just, in the book it was described, she was bleeding from the middle of the chest because of the rifle.
Yeah, like shrapnel.
Yeah, it cut up her dress, and Dirk Pitt he noticed a enormous sagging breast that was bleeding. It's like, thank you for the imagery.
Oh, goddammit, what's her name? Annie Wilkes. That's the vibes I was getting from Maxine Rafferty, is Annie Wilkes from Misery. Because this is somebody who's, like, as strong as Pitt, a better shot than Pitt, gets knocked out the front door of the cabin, immediately on her feet, shoots Giordino and like, is about to finish him off. She's better than both of them put together, almost.
Yes, and she's 70.
Yes.
Or 70 plus.
Tough old lady.
So she can have those sagging breasts. They're fine. She has a skill set.
Exactly. While Maxine's outside, Lee grabs the lead pipe and starts beating the crap out of Dirk Pitt and breaks his arm.
You know, Dirk was preparing for the arm. He felt, he raised his arm up and he expected the fracture. That didn't come because Steiger came through the window.
I thought he felt the bone snap.
No, he didn't. He was awaiting the bone snap.
I was going to say, because in the next scene, he's not wearing a cast. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. I wasn't reading too fast. I was listening too fast.
You were coveting.
Oh, that too. I still don't know what day it is.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
That's remarkable. You showed up on time, though.
And then Steiger comes through the window.
And Steiger feels, he's got his big boy pants on. He feels, when this is all wrapped up, he feels like, I did a man thing today. Beat the bad guys. I feel the best for Steiger. Al got shot in the leg.
And he was about to get shot in the chest, but Dirk and his cult they kill Lee with the lead pipe, and then Dirk comes out and turns Maxine's torso inside out.
Yes.
With the hand cannon.
It turned inside out?
And it exploded.
Galaxy Quest.
It's Galaxy Quest. And Al is shook. He's like, is that me? Am I dead there? Is that part of me? Do I need that back? And they assure him, no, that's just gore from another lady.
Mm-hmm.
And Al seems to be the only one, like, in an actual human universe where this amount of carnage would take an emotional toll. Everybody else is fine.
Oh, yeah.
He's having an existential crisis, but what's the meaning of life and death? Why are we here? There's a woman who's now a tomato salad in front of me.
This was basically how Pitt planned.
Oh, that was in his notes?
I assume so.
We're going to take a look at that clipboard. And then chapter
44 is a big one, too. I forgot, because that bounces around, like, points of view. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different points of view in that chapter.
Yes. Colonel Jemana is having an argument with Machida. Machida's like, why did you have this rampage go on? It's going to make us look terrible. Don't do this.
Yep, because off-screen, Jemana gave the order to attack a harmless, defenseless village.
And hundreds of people are dead. It looks, from a PR standpoint, like a nightmare.
Yep.
It's like if you have a television show host who's hanging around with orphans all the time. Like, oh, it's great, he loves the kids, but it's uncomfortable. And that's the way Machida's feeling. He's like, no, you can't. We can never recover from this.
Yeah.
We need the good graces of the public. What are you doing?
I also like how in this section, just to drive home how evil he is, he's described as obese twice now. Launches attacks on kids, kills kids, also fat. Also evil, but also fat. Keep these in mind at the same time.
Yeah, but we just got back from, who was fat? Who came through the window?
Steiger.
In the previous chapter. Yeah, he's fat too, but he's lovable.
Well, Steiger's not fat. At the start of the book, they describe him as Al's clone. Like, they're both built like apes. So they're not fat. They're big boned.
Oh, I just got like a meatball imagery in my head. Okay.
In my mind, they're both like short and square.
Okay, I apologize. I rescind the statement. They're just stout.
Yes. Stout, good. Obese, bad.
Only evil people and useless women are fat in these books. So Jemana is trying to orchestrate a coup. Machida does not like the sound of this. He despises this plan from top to bottom. He wants to go contact Lucerna. And Machida has it. Jemana, these names are very lyrical and they are often interchangeable. And I apologize. Jemana orders him to be arrested before he can get the message to Lucerna.
Yep.
And Machida is then imprisoned at the AAR barracks. He's in a little jail.
And we get a short POV shift to Lucerna and Daggett at the House of Reps library. And Daggett gives him the newspaper that says 165 villagers slaughtered by AAR insurgents. And how this is absolutely going to screw with the congressional meetings we have about funding the AAR.
Meanwhile, I think this was before C-SPAN. They were getting away with such bullshit.
Oh, God, yes.
Nobody was watching anything. Insider trading was made legal.
Yeah.
For them. They were going ham. I love the quaint thought of they were being reviewed. Nah.
Mm-hmm. There were like 5 active coups happening in South America at this moment that were in the newspapers, and that didn't affect anything.
Tip O'Neill was the Speaker of the House, and they definitely had a martini lobby lunch every day. It was known for being a really drunk, carousing atmosphere. Even reporters were kind of like partying around.
Wow.
It wasn't a serious, deep journalistic integrity watchdog kind of atmosphere. It was cocaine and booze.
Not like nowadays. The American government would never support somebody who kills 165 civilians. I'm winking at the camera right now.
No, they have to kill a lot more civilians before we get interested.
2,000 or nothing.
That's circus numbers.
Then the POV shifts back to Ziegler, who I completely forgot about, back with the South African defense people.
That was a jarring transition. I too forgot about Ziegler. It was like, that was in this book. That was like the Raffertys. The Raffertys were folksy though, so they stuck. Ziegler didn't make an impression, so he was erased from my brain.
Ziegler did for me, because I was thinking, okay, why is there like a hyper-efficient German in this book? For all the things happening in this book that don't need to happen, this extra seems like it doesn't need to happen. But we have Ziegler, who I think is like the good white person in South Africa. And now they're talking about how there's a mutiny in the AAR.
I can't get a fix on Ziegler. Is he super evil? Is he just marginally evil?
I don't think he's evil, because earlier on, he was the one who was going through all the evidence for the fake attack on the Fox farm, and he was the one who was working out that it didn't make sense.
Oh.
And he was going through all the evidence. So I think he is like being painted as one of the good ones, because he's an advisor to the South African defense people.
Okay. I just have such a hardcore no benefit of the doubt for the German archetype in these books.
After the last 3 books, yeah.
So I was giving him
bit of a real anti-German bent here.
Giving him no quarter. I was like, no, there's something up with this guy.
Yeah. His name is Ziegler. He's bad.
Yes.
And now we're like 45 chapters in, and he's like, I think he's bad.
I'm waiting for the shooter drop. That's all.
Yeah, true.
And meanwhile, Machida's back in his prison. He's been roughed up. 2 teeth were knocked loose. One eye is bloodied shut. And he hears something, so he drags himself to look out the window of his prison cell. And he sees troops muster on the green, and they're all just cut down. It's a mass slaughter within seconds. The AAR is being more than decimated. They're being eliminated by an unseen force. The forces attacking them are so prevalent and overwhelming that they are not even on the field of battle. They are attacking and not getting any flak back. It is an overwhelming defeat. Everything is bombed to flatness, and we find out Machida only lives by the happenstance of the way the building fell. It gave him a little air pocket, and he was able to climb out.
Yeah, because there's gunfire from the woods. There's helicopters dropping bombs on all the buildings. Yeah, the last building falls on Machida.
And speed of plot, or the physics of hero building is, he can't be flattened by the building. He finds an air pocket.
Because one building fell in just the exact way that when his building fell, the other building falling pushed it away from him. I wasn't entirely sure what happened at the end, but we get a brief section with Defense Minister Duval. There's 2,300 AAR people dead and 8 South African defense people wounded. It's the most one-sided massacre ever. And he says, don't worry, the AAR might be dead, but Operation Wild Rose will still take place as planned. And then Machida wakes up, and everyone's gone, and he's the only person alive.
Yes, and it's just mayhem before him. Everything is leveled.
And there's no bodies either. They took all the corpses.
Yes.
That seemed unnecessary. But
They called it policing the field.
Yeah.
So he had to be unconscious for a while, because that's a heck of a cleanup job, especially in a warmer day. On a warmer day.
Yeah, because I think he was looking out at the morning training when the attack happened, and he wakes up at night. So he was out for a good 12 hours.
He was freezing. Sorry to crack the warm statement. It was bitterly cold for him.
Yes.
In the prison. And then my memory fails me entirely. I have foggy brain. I hope you don't.
Oh, of course I do. Chapter 45, Pitt is tracking down the person that Lee Rafferty sold all of the canisters to.
Yes, Mapes.
Orville Mapes.
And we have another Wile E. Coyote moment from Ziegler. Not Ziegler.
Steiger.
The guy who's mimicking the general on the phone. I cannot get his name in my head today.
Yeah, this is a straight up 80s comedy scene they have where Pitt is I have to know where these canisters went, and Mapes I don't have to tell you shit. So Pitt tells him to call a General Grossfield at the Defense Department. And it's Steiger in Grossfield's office eating a banana and trying to sound like he's busy eating lunch.
Yes, and this is where Clive was doing a pulse check, because the general on the phone is supposed to be eating a peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
And Mapes is oh, I prefer peanut butter and onions. This is just to see if you're still alive.
We've had a lot of violence in the last 2 chapters. Now for some comedy. Chapter 45 briefly 45, and honestly, chapter 46 is kind of wacky, but we'll get there in a bit.
Yes. So I think that peanut butter taste experiment was just his way of making sure that you still were into this book. You didn't drift off into sleep or an early death.
I've only heard the onions one, but my mom actually had peanut butter and mayonnaise because she said that the mayonnaise cut through the stickiness.
Oh, see that.
I could never quite go for it, but I'm old now. Maybe I should try that again because, I'm not fat enough.
You're not fat, as far as I can tell. I just see your head. So
My head's pretty fat.
you're fine. But it's if you're fat by male standards, I'm a blimp by female standards. So you can't be fat. We have to be symbiotic on this.
Okay, we're not going down this road.
But maybe like the two fats, no, I can't justify it. Mayonnaise and peanut butter do not go together. I was trying to be decent. I can't wrap my brain around it. Maybe there's some umami thing that happens if you mix those two. Maybe it's fantastic. Go try it.
All right, I'll let you know.
Report back.
That'll be next episode.
Yes, when the peanut butter hits the road.
But yeah, Fake Steiger tells Mapes that Pitt is an investigator from the Senate Arms Committee. And then we get, at first I thought they were treating Mapes as like a really cool guy, but by the end of this, he's just a fat little death merchant. As we walk through the Phalanx Arms place in New Jersey, which is a 5,000-acre storage facility and the world's 6th largest army in terms of material.
I have, because of jobs I've worked in inspections of storage facilities for international shipments, and they're huge. Like just going to a warehouse, it's like standing next to a ship in dry dock. Some of these buildings are so incredibly massive, they will make you feel like an ant.
I haven't been in anything quite like that.
Oh, you're frozen again.
Oh, God damn it.
Technically, you're not. You're probably room temperature.
Okay.
Probably 98.6 or about.
Maybe we'll wrap this up real quick because we only have like 1.5 chapters to go and one of them's pretty short.
Okay.
But he's at Phalanx Arms. They track down the 8 shells that Lee sold him, but there's only 4 of them.
And Mapes is like, he's being portrayed like a real weasel now. He's just like the sweaty guy who made a mistake, and it's a big mistake. And he's like, damn it. I did sell the things for money.
My bad. So they track down all of the 16-inch battleship shells that they sold in the last year. 1 to the British Museum, 2 to the VFW in Oklahoma, and 37 to the AAR.
Then Dirk says that these are 1 ton each.
Yep.
That's a lot of moving around for something that heavy. These items are going to be quite the shipping charge.
Yeah.
At least if I'm this guy, I'm charging a premium for shipping. It's not Amazon. You can charge for shipping in the 80s. And I love that Steiger used a banana and not actually all of that peanut butter talk, and he was actually eating a banana to keep his mouth full to disguise his voice.
Yep. Just bring the sandwich with you.
Chapter 46 is where my notes end.
We're at the hour mark, so maybe we'll pick up on 46 next time.
Okay. Thank you very much. Great to see you.
You too?
I feel better.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure I will.
Get rest. Tell everybody to sleep. You have a doctor's excuse. Sleep.
I have been. I go to bed early. I sleep in late.
In our family, we go to sleep so early, our neighbors think we're deranged or we have a cold or something. Everyone is in bed by 8 o'clock.
Wow.
If your neighbor comes off to drop something like a note, or they're like, are you Amish? Do you not own TVs? Why are you all in bed?
I'll be in bed by 8, and the kids will be up until 9, 10, 11, even if they have school or work the next day.
The wonders of youth.
This has been Cussler Hustlers. Your hosts have been Topper and Nancy. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at Cussler Hustlers.